I really impressed myself with my reading, if I'm being completely honest. Hello and welcome to my channel, The Danish Readaholic. My name is Silka and today I will be doing my August wrap-up. So I think without further ado, we should get into the stats. I read 9 books this month and it equals out to a total of 2,612 pages. So yay me, and especially for having 2 months in a row with like over 2,000 pages. I had 7 new to me authors and 2 authors that I had read before. For the star rating, I had 1 2-star, 1 3-star, 6 4-star, and 1 5-star. For the representation, I had 1 mental health representation, 1 LGBTQ+, 1 racial, 2 disability, 1 multiple, and 3 where there was no representation whatsoever. For the author nationality, I have 6 American authors. I have 1 Australian, 1 from New Zealand, and 1 from Ireland. When it comes to the genres, I have 1 classic, 5 fantasy, 1 graphic novel, 1 historical fiction, and 1 magical realism. For the type of book, I have 6 that were part of a series, 2 standalones, and 1 reread. Then I have the intended audience. I have 3 middle grades, 4 YA, and 2 new adult. For the format, I had 6 audiobooks and 3 physical books. With the sources, I have 1 from my own TBR. I have 4 that were hauled and 4 that was from Script. Or the library, Script Library. For the release, I have 2 that were released in 2022. The remaining 7 were released prior to that. And that were the stats. Now I do have 9 books to talk about, so I think I should get on with it. So I'm gonna do what I did last month and go through them based on my star rating. So I'm gonna start off with How to Save an Undead Life. If I'm being completely honest with you, I don't remember a damn thing about this book. I believe that it is a necromancer or somebody who used to be a necromancer who was released from a prison kind of thing for necromancers. And then there is vampires, and she's also in love with her neighbor, and she has a bird that keeps dying, but then she keeps like resuscitating it. I don't remember the point of the book. I don't remember the general plot of the book. I remember being annoyed with the book, and it was just not for me. I am not the biggest fan of like the undead being, if it's zombies, ghosts, vampires, that kind of thing. It's not really my thing. I'm not the biggest fan of the whole vampire thing, and in this one I felt like it was so stereotypical when it comes to vampires. Like, I don't know, and he had a Russian accent. Like, that was just not like the audiobook was just not it. And the names, I'm not sure how you spell it, but I know that her love interest, or at least the one that I liked the most, the only character I liked, was one of the love interests, and his name was Boaz, and I was like, of all the names you could have given him, Boaz. I'm not sure if it was his actual name or if it was just something she called him, but it was all he went by. Like, every time anybody talked about him, it was with that name. It was just not for me. I gave it 2 stars, I'm not gonna lie. I read it for William, so I had to use a book with necromancer themes, and I mean, it was fine for that. It was a short one. It took me a couple of hours. I don't remember how long it actually was, but it wasn't the longest, so I'm happy about that. Yeah, I'm not gonna continue with that series, I'm not gonna lie. Next up, we have my only 3-star, and now looking at it, I might have been a little bit harsh with this one. It might be closer to like a 3.5, 4-ish thing than an actual like 3-star. But if we have to go get down to the nitty-gritty of it, then I guess it is a 3-star, and that is Only a Monster by Vanessa Len. A lot of the way through the book, this has a lot to do with time travel, and I really enjoyed that part, and I really like the ending. Our main character makes a sacrifice towards the ending that actually kind of broke my heart. I know that this is the first book in a series, and I actually wasn't expecting it to be a series. I feel like it works fine as a standalone, but I am also intrigued to see what will happen next. I know what I hope will happen. It is kind of a little bit of a love triangle, in my opinion. Well, not a love triangle, but there's 2 love interests, and I'm very intrigued to see how it goes and if she's going to choose any of them and who she will choose. But let me tell you briefly what it's about. So we follow Joan, who is half monster, half human. And at first she doesn't really know what being a monster means. She doesn't realize that it is an actual thing. She just thinks that it's something her family has already or always called themselves. But she accidentally steals time from a person and jumps forward in time. And that opens this entire issue with her family being monsters. And then there is a massacre. And our main character, Joan, is trying to go back in time to fix the massacre. I am not going to tell you more. I feel like it has Romeo and Juliet vibes, but there was just something about it that I didn't really like all that much. I wasn't the biggest fan of the characters. There was one, I don't remember his name actually, Aaron. I really liked Aaron. Aside from that, none of the characters were like favorites of mine, so it was a little bit lacking in that department. I really liked the fast pacing of the book, but sometimes it felt a little too fast paced. It was one of those books where I feel like a lot of the issues were easily solved. I feel like it was a little bit too easy, and I would have liked the storyline of this one to continue to the sequel. That was actually a big part of why I thought that this wasn't like in a series. I thought it was a standalone because I felt like this concluded the story quite well. So, but I was wrong, and it is a series, and I'm excited to see where it goes, but it was not a new favorite of mine. Then I read Murder for the Modern Girl by Kendall Culper. This follows Ruby and Guy in the 1920s in Chicago, and we have, as I said, Ruby. She's the daughter of somebody really important, and Guy works in a morgue. And we have Ruby, who can read thoughts, and she is also a murderer who kills men who either are rapists or domestic abusers, anything like that. She will kill them with poison. Guy is a shapeshifter who can transform into anybody. It's easier if he has seen the person he's gonna transform into. So he could potentially transform into Ruby, for example. So Guy is working at this morgue, and he is looking into the murders of all of these men that all die from poisoning. Other than that, there is an entire plot line following Ruby's father. As I said, is an important person, but I don't remember his position. Somebody is trying to get rid of him because he is trying to fight all of like the corruption in the system. And the entire story, or actually the main focus of the story, is that part of it. So it's like a mystery but with like a paranormal twist, and I freaking love it. I ended up giving this 4 stars, and I mean, I just really enjoyed it. Next up, I read Thornwood, and once again, upon reevaluating, I think I should have given this like a 3.5, but I gave it 4. So here we are. So this is like a retelling of Sleeping Beauty, but where we follow Sleeping Beauty's sister. And it basically opens up with saying, let's get this out of the way. The fairy tales don't mention me. They wouldn't. The stories you've heard are all about my sister, Sleeping Beauty, with her gorgeous hair and her lovely eyes, blah blah blah. Nobody wants to hear about me, even if I was the only one who realized right from the beginning that the prince wasn't who he said he was. But would any adult listen to an 11-year-old princess who never even got a blessing from a fairy godmother? No. So I'm going to tell you what really happened. I mean, if that doesn't intrigue you, then I don't know what will. So I'm not going to tell you more than that, actually. It was just a really great retelling of a story that obviously we all know, and some of us might even love. But it was really fun to see. Then I also read Lore Olympus. I honestly couldn't tell you what this is about other than Hades and Persephone. And I also think I don't want to, because I feel like you should experience this by yourself, like 100% go into this blind. I didn't know a damn thing. I really like the art style and the fact that most of the characters are just like color blobs, and then they have clothes drawn onto them, but in the same color as their skin and their hair and their eyes and everything. I really enjoyed that. I don't have any comments for like more than that. I gave it a 4 star. I would highly recommend. It was really good. I also have a couple of 4 stars that I read as audiobooks, so I don't have them, but I will insert pictures. So first up, I read Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Shauna Maguire. I really enjoyed this one, but I think that I don't know what I was expecting. I gave the first one a 5 star, and this one was good, but not as good, so I gave it a 4 star. I really liked it. It was the backstory of Jack and Jill, and I can't tell you all that much, honestly, because once again, you need to go into it blind, and since it's a backstory, it's a little bit spoilery for every harsh doorway, so I can't tell you anything. Also, as I said, it's a sequel, so obviously it would be spoilery for the first one in the series. I would still really recommend the series, and I really did enjoy the book. I like Jack so much, and I also liked seeing the backstory of Jill. Well, I like seeing the backstory of both of them, but it was just very interesting. I also like the way that it started with them, with their parents before they were even born, so it also already then gave us an impression as to why they traveled to this realm. I didn't care much for the characters outside of Jack and Jill. There were a few that I really liked, but a lot of them were just kind of meh to me. And I also think that it just wasn't as intriguing to me as the first one was, so I'm excited to see how I feel about the next one. All that being said, I still gave it a 4 star. It's still a really great book, and I'm still excited to continue. Then I also read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I enjoyed that so much. I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed that so much. I didn't expect to. First of all, it's very fast paced. It's like 200 pages or so I listened to it in about an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe. It was just so great. There were so many small quirks and details about it that I really enjoyed. Especially there's this one thing where he keeps, it's by C.S. Lewis, by the way, where he keeps putting in, like, every time they go into the wardrobe, except for when Edmund does it, but every time Lucy and then eventually Peter goes into the wardrobe, he mentions that they don't close the door, and he says that that's a very sensible thing, and that they know not to close a wardrobe completely, blah blah blah. And I was just like, that's such a fun thing. And also the way that it was written, and because I listened to it as an audio, it just felt like when I was younger and my dad would tell me stories because of the way that it's written. There's a point where somebody gets rescued, and he basically writes that, oh, then came the rescue team that Peter sent their way in the last chapter. You remember that? Yeah. And I just felt like that was just, it felt like, as I said, getting told a story by your grandparents, your parents, or whatever. When I was younger, my dad would come up with stories and tell me them, and one of them was just the best one I've ever heard. And I can't even explain it. Like, I don't remember anything that happened, but I remember the setting of it, and I freaking loved it. And this brought me back to that, and I loved it. So I gave it a 4 star, and I'm excited to continue the series, honestly. The last 4 star that I have is called A Snicker of Magic. This one I picked up because I needed something where there was just one object as a focal point on the cover, and as you can see there is. I went into this blind, and I loved it. A big thing about this one that I really enjoyed is that throughout the story, we follow this main character who is a child, and she is collecting words that she can see around her, but at no given point are we certain that it is actual magic or if it's kids' imagination. And I really enjoyed that, because the other kids that she talked about, especially this one person who becomes her friend, he's like, oh, I love your ability to collect words, and what words do you see around me, and stuff like that. And that was just such a pure friendship, and I really liked it. But at no given time are you certain if it's actual magic or if it's kids' imagination. And then there's all these legends about the city that she is moving to, I will get into that, about magic and how there was a curse on some of the people there and blah blah blah. But again, it is like folk tales, and it's not certain that there is actual magic because none of the adults seem to be able to see any of the magic. And I just felt like that was such a great thing, because all of it could just be like kids' imagination, but you're not really sure. In this, we follow Felicity, who moves with her mom across the country. It's explained as if they move around a lot because the mom, she can't relax. She feels restless and she needs to be moving all the time. And Felicity just wants to stay put in one place and find a place where she can belong. She then comes to this city. I don't remember the name of it, but she comes to this city. She hears all of these stories about the magic that used to be there and so on and so forth. And she is convinced that if she can break the curse, then her mom will not be so restless and she will find peace and be able to stay in the city. Aside from that, she is also collecting words, but I do believe that she has like social anxiety or something along those lines. She is unable to speak in public. I'm not sure what that is called, but I would categorize it as like social anxiety or something within that spectrum. And it's just really, really nice to see because I struggle to speak in front of a large audience, which is strange because I have no problem performing and singing in front of a large crowd. It is speaking that is the issue. And it also touches upon that, and I really, really enjoyed that. So it was really a great, wholesome story, and I freaking loved it. And as I said, especially the part where you don't know if it's actual magic or if it's just pretend and kids' imagination, that was just so great. I really, really enjoyed it. Finally, we have my 5-star of the month, and that is Fire by Christopher Shore. This is a reread, but it is also the sequel in a series, so I cannot really tell you all that much about it. I will say that if you have not gone into the Graceling realm yet, do yourself a favor and do it. I fell in love with the world the first time that I read Graceling, where we follow Katza, who is a Graceling, meaning that she has a specific talent for something. This one is a prequel to that, and we're in the Dells, which is a place, it has not been discovered in Graceling. So the people living where Ketsa doesn't know about the Dells. I love that. I really, really love that. And eventually it will all make sense. I'm just gonna say that, but it's that kind of story where everything eventually connects and every book follows a new character, but as I said, everything connects eventually. I was a little bit scared going into it because it is one of my all-time favorites, and I was afraid that it wouldn't hold up, even though, when did I read it? Was it last year? Or the year before that? I don't remember when I read it, like for the first time, but this is my second time reading it, and it is just as good as my first read. This is one of the books where I wish I could experience it again for the very first time because, so good. Alright, that was my wrap up, and I tried to be a little bit brief with all of the books, so yes, that is it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know how many books you managed to read in August. And did you have any 5 stars? I really want to know. If you just want to let me know that you're here but don't know what to comment, you can always leave a green heart. If you like this video, please hit the like icon, and if you want to see more of my bookish content, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It will mean the world to me. And until I see you next time, bye!